Aliens wrote it off as scrap. A human reprogrammed it and shocked everyone. Jack Morrow wiped the sweat from his brow as he stepped through the dusty corridors of the trade station. The place smelled of metal and oil, with faint hints of alien machinery that had been abandoned and left to rot. He had been coming here for years, watching aliens sell old machines that nobody wanted. Most people walked past without a second glance, but Jack had a habit of noticing what others ignored. Something about the hum of the station called to him, and today it seemed louder than usual. The hall was lined with crates and half-broken machines. Alien workers moved quickly, speaking in a language that twisted like music but meant nothing to Jack. He did not care. He knew enough to watch how things worked. His eyes landed on a large object pushed into a dark corner. At first, it looked like a heap of scrap. Metal plates were bent, wires hung like vines, and the surface was scratched and scorched. Most humans would have kept walking. Most aliens certainly had, but Jack stopped. "What is that?" he asked quietly to no one in particular. One of the alien workers, a tall creature with long, segmented limbs, glanced over and shrugged. "Scrap, junk, nothing useful. You humans are always staring at broken things." Jack smiled faintly. He liked that. Humans had a way of seeing patterns where others only saw chaos. He stepped closer to the machine. It was big, about the size of a small vehicle, but the design was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its shape was strange, almost organic, but its metal surface was smooth and cold. Panels shifted slightly, as if the machine were breathing. Jack ran his fingers over the edge of a panel. It was cold to the touch, but when he pressed a button hidden under a flap, the machine shuddered. Just a small movement, almost like it was testing him. His heart raced. Machines didn't move on their own, not like this. "Hey," the alien worker barked. "Stop touching it. That's not for humans. Go play with your little toys." Jack ignored the warning. He crouched down, examining the wiring underneath the bent panels. His fingers traced paths that made sense to him, even if they were completely alien. There was a pattern in the chaos, a rhythm that his human mind could follow. He could feel it waiting, sleeping, ready for someone to wake it. He pulled out a small toolkit from his bag. Simple tools, a wrench, a few screwdrivers, and a portable diagnostic scanner. Most of the aliens had complex tools, digital devices that hummed with strange energy, but Jack trusted his hands more than any machine. He started carefully opening the panels, taking care not to break anything. Hours passed. The station's lights flickered as the day moved on. Jack worked silently, crouched behind the heap of scrap. Occasionally, an alien worker would pass by and give a disapproving glare, but nobody stopped him. There was something about the machine that demanded patience. Jack did not rush. Humans had a strange kind of patience, especially when they were curious. By late afternoon, Jack had discovered the first secret. Deep inside the machine, under layers of alien circuitry, was a small core. It pulsed faintly, a tiny heartbeat of light and energy. Most people would have dismissed it as a dying battery, but Jack knew better. Machines did not just have energy for no reason. Something was alive inside. "Alive," he whispered to himself. The word sounded strange in his mouth, but it fit. He watched the tiny pulse, thinking about what it could mean. The aliens had judged this machine useless. They had called it scrap, but Jack saw something else. He saw possibility. He worked through the night, making small adjustments. Nothing major, just careful nudges, reconnecting wires that had come loose, clearing dust from hidden sensors, and testing connections. Each time he pressed a button, the machine responded a little more. A panel lifted, a gear rotated, a faint hum grew louder. By morning, Jack was exhausted but satisfied. He stepped back and watched the machine. For the first time, it moved freely, like it had remembered how to be alive. Its small lights blinked in patterns that seemed almost like a language. Jack could not read it, but he felt it. "Impressive," said a voice behind him. Jack jumped, twisting around. It was another human, a young technician named Lisa Grant. She had been assigned to assist with general maintenance at the station, but she liked to explore too. "What did you do?" she asked, eyes wide. "Nothing," Jack said, smiling. "I just listened." Lisa raised an eyebrow. "You listened to a dead machine?" Jack shrugged. "Not dead, sleeping. Sometimes humans are the only ones who notice when something is waiting for help." Lisa laughed softly, but there was wonder in her eyes. "Do you think the aliens will notice?" "They might," Jack said, "but they won't understand." And he was right. When the alien supervisors came to inspect the scrap heap, they did not see anything unusual. The machine remained quiet when they walked past. To them it was still scrap, a heap of useless metal. They had no idea that a human had already awakened it. Jack spent the next few days observing the machine. He found that it could respond to simple commands, but only if he used the human way of logic. Alien commands, strict and precise, did not work. They assumed machines must follow perfect order, but humans were different. Humans could improvise. Humans could find patterns in chaos. That was why the machine responded to him and no one else. During this time, Jack worked quietly with Lisa. She was curious, careful, and patient. Together, they explored more of the machine's systems. Jack explained his methods in simple terms. "You don't force it," he said. "You guide it, you show it the way, and it remembers." Lisa nodded. "It's like teaching a child." "Exactly," Jack said, smiling, "but a very strong, very smart child." The machine began to move more on its own. Its panels shifted like limbs and faint lights danced along its surface. Occasionally, it made sounds, small clicks and hums that seemed almost musical. Jack listened carefully, learning its rhythm. He discovered that it could store energy in unexpected ways, redirecting power to parts of itself that needed it. Word of Jack's interest in the scrap machine spread quietly among other humans on the station. Some were curious, some were skeptical, and a few even worried. They whispered about the dangers of tampering with alien technology, especially something that looked like a war machine. But Jack ignored the warnings. He had seen enough to know that the machine was not dangerous. It was misunderstood. One evening, as the sun set beyond the station's distant walls, Jack finally tried a bold experiment. He connected a small interface device he had built to the machine's core. It allowed him to communicate in basic commands, using logic simple enough for a human mind but still powerful. The machine responded immediately. Its lights blinked rapidly, gears turned, and a soft hum filled the room. "Hello," Jack said, laughing nervously. The machine responded with a series of clicks and tones. Jack did not understand the meaning, but he recognized intention. It was responding. It was aware. It had recognized him. Lisa watched, wide-eyed. "Jack, are you sure this is safe?" Jack shrugged. "Safe isn't the point. Understanding is." Over the next week, Jack and Lisa continued their work. They mapped the machine's internal systems, discovering hidden layers of design. There were compartments and circuits that no one had ever opened. Some had strange markings, almost like writing, but it was clearly not a language humans or aliens could read. It seemed like the machine had been built to evolve, to learn, to adapt, but no one had ever given it the chance. Jack's excitement grew, but so did his caution. He knew that if alien authorities discovered what he was doing, they would confiscate the machine or destroy it. He had to move carefully. He kept the machine hidden, only working on it when the station was quiet. The machine began to show more remarkable abilities. It could move across the floor without guidance, its joints and panels flowing smoothly. It could sense obstacles and adjust its path. Jack realized that it was learning, not just responding. It was adapting. One night Lisa asked, "Do you think it can think?" Jack paused. He stared at the softly glowing lights of the machine. "I don't know," he said honestly, "but it's trying, and that's enough for now." By the end of part 1, Jack had done something no one else on the station had ever imagined. He had taken what aliens wrote off as scrap and brought it to life in a way that only a human mind could. He did not yet know how far it could go or what it would become, but he felt a thrill deep in his chest. Something extraordinary was awakening, and he was the only one who understood it. The trade station continued to hum with activity around him. Aliens argued over prices, humans moved cargo, and the sun rose and set beyond the distant walls. But in the quiet corner of the scrapyard, a machine that should have been forgotten had begun to remember itself, and a human had sparked that memory. Jack leaned back against a metal crate, tired but exhilarated. He looked at Lisa and said, "Tomorrow we learn more." Lisa smiled, "And the day after that?" Jack grinned. "Then we see what it can really do." And with that, the first day of the human awakening had passed. No one else noticed. No one else understood. But Jack knew. He had seen the impossible begin. Jack woke early the next morning, his mind buzzing with ideas. The scrap machine sat quietly in the corner of the station, its lights glowing faintly. Even when idle, it seemed alive, waiting for him to return. Lisa was already there, notebook in hand, her eyes wide with excitement. "Did it move last night?" she asked, barely able to contain her curiosity. Jack shook his head. "Just a little. It's learning, but slowly. We have to guide it carefully." Lisa leaned closer, examining the glowing panels. Do you really think we can make it do things, like fight or work? Jack smiled. I don't know yet, but I know we can teach it to respond, to think in ways the aliens never imagined. That's the start. He pulled out his toolkit and started working. Today, he would begin the first stage of reprogramming. Not full control, just guiding the machine's logic. Most humans would have been afraid, but Jack trusted his hands. He trusted his mind. Humans had a gift for solving problems that alien systems could not predict. He connected the small interface device to the core again. Lights blinked as the machine recognized his presence. Jack typed simple commands into the console, using sequences that made sense to him but were unlike anything the aliens used. The machine's gears shifted, panels moved, and a soft hum filled the room. Lisa watched in awe. It's like it's listening to you, she said. It is, Jack said, but it doesn't understand alien logic. It responds to human thinking. That's why it will surprise everyone. For hours, Jack and Lisa worked. He rewrote control pathways using simple, redundant logic. He added loops that allowed the machine to correct itself when something went wrong. He taught it to store energy in small bursts and redirect it when needed. Each small improvement made the machine more responsive. Do you think it can make decisions? Lisa asked. Not fully, Jack said, but it can learn rules and adapt. That's more than the aliens ever expected. By late afternoon, the machine moved more confidently. It lifted a small arm-like panel and adjusted a wheel. Then it rotated in place, testing its mobility. Lisa clapped her hands. It's working. Jack smiled but remained cautious. It's working, yes, but it's still fragile. One wrong move and the aliens could take it from us, or worse. The station buzzed with activity around them. Alien overseers inspected cargo, arguing in their musical language. Humans moved crates and repaired smaller machines, but none noticed the transformation happening in the corner. To them, it was still scrap. Only Jack and Lisa understood the potential. Over the next few days, Jack increased the complexity of his programming. He wrote simple routines that allowed the machine to react to its environment. It learned to avoid obstacles, adjust its power output, and even respond to light and sound. Every day, it became smarter. One evening, Jack tried something new. He left a small tool on the floor and stepped back. The machine slowly extended a panel and lifted the tool, holding it gently. Lisa gasped. It's thinking, Jack shook his head. Not thinking like us, but it's learning to act on its own. That's enough for now. Lisa studied the movements. Do you think it could fight? Jack hesitated. He had never considered using it for violence. Humans were curious, yes, but they also had limits. It could defend itself, he said carefully. But we need to teach it first, carefully, step by step. The machine responded to his words, or at least it seemed to. Its lights blinked faster and its hum became more pronounced. It was as if it recognized that Jack was leading it. Word of the human tinkering spread quietly among other humans on the station. Some were curious, some skeptical, and a few were worried. You're playing with alien war tech, one human said. Do you even know what you're doing? Jack shrugged. I'm not breaking it. I'm helping it understand. Humans can see things aliens can't, that's all. Lisa nodded. And it listens to you because you think like a human, not like an alien. Yes, Jack said. That's the key. One afternoon, the station received a shipment of broken alien drones. Most of them were useless, but Jack saw something in one of them. A small processor that matched a pattern he had seen in the scrap machine. He carefully removed it and studied it. This could help it think faster, he said to Lisa. It's like giving it a brain upgrade. Lisa looked concerned. Are you sure it's safe? Jack smiled faintly. Nothing is ever completely safe, but sometimes taking a risk is the only way to see what's possible. He connected the processor to the machine, integrating it with his human logic system. Immediately, the lights blinked brighter, the panels shifted faster, and the hum grew stronger. The machine moved confidently around the room, adjusting its balance as if it had known how to do it all along. Lisa stepped back, amazed. It's alive, Jack nodded. It's responding to us, not to the aliens. That's the difference. They wrote it off as scrap because they couldn't understand human thinking, but we can. Over the next week, Jack and Lisa taught the machine more complex routines. It learned to lift heavier objects, move with precision, and even respond to voice commands in basic English. The more it learned, the more independent it became. Jack realized that he was not just programming a machine, he was awakening something. One day, an alien overseer came close to the corner where the machine was hidden. Jack froze. The creature leaned over, inspecting the panels. "You are working with this?" it asked in broken human words. Jack shook his head. "I'm just checking it for safety." The alien stared but eventually walked away. It did not understand. It never would. To them it was still scrap. But Jack smiled to himself. They had no idea what was coming. That evening, Jack tried a bold experiment. He gave the machine a series of tasks that required it to combine movements, adjust power, and respond to environmental changes, all at once. The machine executed the commands perfectly. It moved with purpose, lifted heavy objects, and adjusted its balance in ways that impressed even Jack. Lisa clapped her hands. "I can't believe it, it's amazing." Jack nodded, but his mind raced ahead. "This is only the beginning," he said. "We can teach it more. We can make it do things the aliens never imagined." The next morning, Jack received a message from the station authorities. There was a minor disturbance at the docking bay, some pirates causing trouble. The aliens were calling for all available defense units. Jack realized that this might be the first real test for the machine. "Lisa," he said quietly, "we might have to see how well it really works today." Lisa's eyes widened. "You mean in a fight?" Jack nodded. "Not to attack, just to defend. We'll see how it handles real situations." He connected the interface one last time and prepared the machine for action. Lights glowed, panels shifted, and it moved with a new confidence. It was no longer just scrap. It was learning to respond, adapt, and survive. Jack watched it closely, feeling a mix of fear and excitement. This was the moment when everything could change. Humans had always been underestimated, and the aliens had always believed that machines were too complex for human intuition. But Jack knew the truth. Humans could see patterns where others saw chaos. Humans could guide, adapt, and teach. As the distant sounds of the docking bay reached the corner of the station, Jack smiled. The machine's hum grew louder as if it sensed what was coming. It was ready to act, and Jack had helped it reach this point. Lisa stood beside him, holding her notebook tightly. "Do you really think it can handle this?" Jack nodded. "It's human logic. It will surprise everyone. That's what humans do." Together, they stepped back and watched. The machine's lights blinked in anticipation. It moved like a creature waking from a long sleep, fully aware of the world around it. And for the first time, Jack felt a surge of pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. The aliens had written it off as scrap. But a human had reprogrammed it, and soon it would shock everyone. The docking bay was in chaos. Aliens shouted at each other as small ships zoomed across the station, their engines humming like angry insects. A group of pirates had arrived, taking advantage of a weak point in security. They were fast, ruthless, and armed with strange weapons. Humans and aliens alike scrambled to respond, but their defenses were slow. Jack stood in the corner with Lisa, watching from behind a stack of crates. The scrap machine waited quietly, lights blinking softly as if it understood the tension in the air. Jack took a deep breath. "This is it," he whispered. "Time to see what it can really do." Lisa's eyes widened. "Are you sure about this? It's never faced anything like this before." Jack shook his head. "It doesn't need to fight like a normal machine. It just needs to think, adapt, and act. That's what humans taught it." He connected the interface to the machine one last time. Panels shifted, gears hummed, and lights blinked rapidly. The machine moved forward, testing its balance and responding to small obstacles in the docking bay. Jack felt a thrill of anticipation. Humans had always been underestimated, and this was the moment to prove their ingenuity. The first pirate ship launched a small strike team, rushing toward the station's cargo. Alien guards tried to stop them, but they were too few, too slow. The scrap machine reacted instantly. It moved forward, blocking the entrance to the cargo bay. Panels rotated like arms, and wheels adjusted to maintain balance. The pirates fired their weapons, but the machine deflected them with smooth, precise movements. Lisa gasped. It's actually doing it." Jack nodded, eyes glued to the console. "Keep watching. It's learning from every action." The machine advanced, using its newly programmed logic to anticipate enemy movements. It lifted heavy crates and rolled them to block pathways. It extended panels to shield areas of the docking bay and even used small bursts of energy to push attackers back. Every movement was fluid, calculated, and surprisingly intelligent. The pirates were caught off guard. They had expected slow, predictable defenses like the aliens usually deployed. Instead, this machine adapted in real time, reacting to every tactic. When one pirate tried to flank it from the side, the machine rotated and blocked the path, trapping the attacker. When another aimed a weapon from above, it adjusted a panel to shield itself and nearby humans. Jack's heart raced. "It's working better than I imagined," he whispered. "Lisa, it's thinking, really thinking." Lisa nodded, unable to speak. She watched as the machine continued to move, combining all the routines Jack had programmed. It lifted, blocked, pushed, and even scanned the docking bay for threats. Every action seemed purposeful, deliberate, and intelligent. The alien supervisors arrived, finally noticing the situation. They froze when they saw the machine in action. Its movements were unlike anything they had seen. It was not just powerful, it was adaptable. It was responding in ways no alien defense system could predict. "What is it doing?" one of the supervisors demanded, his segmented limbs trembling. This should be scrap. It cannot act like this." Jack stepped forward cautiously. "It's not scrap, it's learning. Humans guided it." The alien's eyes widened in disbelief. "Humans guided it?" "Yes," Jack said firmly. "We see patterns differently. We adapt. You wrote it off as useless, but it only needed the right guidance." Meanwhile, the scrap machine continued to shock everyone. It moved across the docking bay with precision, intercepting pirate attacks, lifting fallen debris to protect humans, and even using energy pulses to disable enemy equipment without harming anyone. Its movements were smooth, intelligent, and terrifyingly efficient. One pirate attempted to use a high-powered blaster, aiming directly at the machine's core. Jack's interface sent a quick command. The machine rotated its panel like a shield, absorbing the blast and redirecting energy to a secondary system. The pirate's weapon was destroyed and the attacker stumbled back, stunned. Lisa whispered, "It's like it's thinking faster than anyone can plan." Jack nodded. "It is. It's human logic inside alien engineering. That's why it's unbeatable." As the battle continued, the station's defenders began to follow the machine's lead. Alien guards and human technicians worked together, inspired by the machine's adaptability. They moved with it, following its decisions rather than issuing commands. For the first time, humans and aliens fought as a team, guided by the unpredictable intelligence of something no one had expected. The pirates grew frustrated. Every attack they launched was anticipated and countered. Every path they tried to take was blocked. The scrap machine seemed to be everywhere at once, moving efficiently, adapting to each new situation. They had never faced anything like it. Jack realized that the machine had gone beyond simple programming. It was making decisions on its own, using the rules he had taught, but applying them in ways even he could not predict. It was alive in a sense that no one on the station had ever seen before. Lisa pointed to a group of pirates attempting to escape with stolen cargo. "It's going after them," Jack smiled. "Not to harm them, just to stop them. Watch." The machine extended a panel and intercepted the escaping pirates, blocking their path and forcing them to retreat. It did so without violence, using its weight and energy pulses to control the situation. The pirates were bewildered. They had never encountered a machine that could adapt, anticipate, and act without simply attacking. Alien commanders were shouting in disbelief. "This cannot be." "It is scrap. It is supposed to be useless." Jack watched, feeling a mixture of pride and amazement. Humans had always been underestimated. The aliens had assumed that intelligence and creativity could not survive outside their own species. Yet here was proof. A human mind had guided what they considered scrap into something extraordinary. The battle raged on for hours, but the scrap machine maintained control. It moved with perfect timing, coordinated its actions with humans and aliens alike, and adapted to every new threat. By the time the pirates realized they could not win, they were forced to retreat. The docking bay was silent once more. Smoke drifted from damaged equipment, and debris lay scattered across the floor. Humans and aliens alike stared at the scrap machine in awe. Its panels shifted gently, lights blinking softly, as if it understood its own success. One alien commander approached Jack, eyes wide with disbelief. How did you do this? This machine, it should have been useless. We wrote it off." Jack stepped forward, calm and confident. "It wasn't useless. You didn't understand it. You looked at it with alien logic. Humans see patterns differently. We adapt, we teach, we guide. That's why it worked." The alien's segmented limbs trembled. "You, a human, reprogrammed scrap, and it saved the station," Jack nodded. Yes, and it can do more, but it needs guidance. Humans can give that guidance. Lisa stood beside Jack, holding her notebook tightly. It's amazing. It's not just a machine. It's alive in a way we taught it to be. The scrap machine remained still for a moment, as if listening to the humans around it. Then it extended a panel and rotated slightly, a simple gesture that seemed almost like acknowledgement. Jack smiled. It understands. It knows it did well. The alien supervisors gathered around, whispering among themselves. They had never seen anything like this. Their entire understanding of machines, technology, and intelligence was challenged. The scrap machine, something they had written off as useless, had just outperformed their most advanced defense systems, and it had done so guided by human intuition. Jack looked around the docking bay at the humans and aliens staring in shock and awe. He felt a surge of pride, not for himself, but for humanity. For the first time, humans were seen as more than weak, limited creatures. They were capable of seeing patterns, guiding complex systems, and achieving what others deemed impossible. Lisa turned to Jack, her eyes shining. They're going to want to study it now. They're going to want to know how you did this. Jack shook his head. It's not just me. It's humans, our way of thinking. That's the real lesson. Machines can be more than tools if we teach them differently. As the station recovered from the battle, Jack knew that nothing would ever be the same. The scrap machine was no longer scrap. Humans had proven that they could guide, adapt, and innovate in ways that shocked even the most advanced alien species. For the first time, humanity had a place at the table, not as weak observers, but as creators, teachers, and innovators. And the scrap machine, reprogrammed by a human hand, had become the symbol of what humans could achieve. Jack and Lisa stood in the corner, watching the machine. Its lights blinked softly, panels shifting gently. It was quiet now, but it was ready. Ready to learn, ready to adapt, ready to continue surprising everyone. Jack whispered almost to himself, "We've only just begun." Lisa smiled. "And tomorrow," Jack grinned, "tomorrow we see what it can really do." The station settled into a cautious calm, but everyone knew that the battle had changed something fundamental. The aliens could no longer dismiss humans as simple, weak, or incapable. Humans had reprogrammed what they thought was scrap, and in doing so, they had shocked the entire station. And the scrap machine, once forgotten and abandoned, had found its true purpose under the guidance of a human mind. The docking bay was quiet now, the echoes of battle slowly fading. Humans and aliens moved carefully among the debris, checking for damage and ensuring the safety of the station. The pirates had retreated, their ships disappearing into the stars. Everyone was exhausted, but a sense of awe hung in the air. Something extraordinary had just happened. Jack Morrow and Lisa Grant stood beside the scrap machine, which had returned to its idle state. Its lights glowed softly, panels shifted gently, and it seemed almost peaceful. Jack ran his hand over its surface. Even after all the chaos, it remained calm, aware, and alive in a way that no one had expected. Lisa spoke quietly. "Jack, do you think they'll ever see it the way we do?" Jack shook his head slowly. "Not yet. The aliens think in strict rules. They see power and efficiency, but they don't see understanding. Humans can guide, adapt, and improvise. That's why it worked. That's why it surprised them." Aliens had begun gathering near the docking bay, whispering to each other in confused tones. Their segmented limbs twitched as they examined the machine. None of them had seen technology move and act in this way before. To them, it was as if the machine had a mind of its own. Some were fearful, others were curious. One alien commander approached Jack cautiously. "Human, you reprogrammed this. It acted beyond expectations. Explain." Jack took a deep breath. "I didn't change what it was, I just showed it a new way to think. Humans think differently. We see patterns where others see chaos. We guide, we adapt, and we help things learn." That's all it needed. The commander's eyes widened. "You guided scrap and it saved the station." "Yes," Jack said calmly. "It wasn't scrap, it was misunderstood." Some aliens stepped back, whispering among themselves. They had always thought of humans as weak and limited. They had believed humans could never influence technology beyond basic repair. But now, the impossible had happened. Humans had guided a machine that even the most advanced aliens had written off as useless, and it had succeeded in ways no one could imagine. The humans on the station were still recovering from the battle. Many had been injured and small fires had burned out. But all around them, the whispers were not about the destruction. They were about the machine and the humans who had guided it. Lisa looked at Jack. Do you think anyone will try to take it from us? Jack shrugged. Maybe, but I think even the aliens are starting to understand that it's more than just power, it's human guidance. They can't replicate that easily. The scrap machine remained still, but every now and then its panels moved slightly, as if it was aware of the attention it was receiving. Jack could feel its awareness, a quiet intelligence that had grown under his hand. He smiled faintly. Humans had done something incredible. They had taken what others discarded and found life in it. News of the battle spread quickly across the station. Other humans came to see the machine, whispering among themselves. "Did you see it?" one said. "It moved, adapted, and stopped the pirates without anyone controlling it fully," another human nodded. "I never thought a machine could do that, not like that. Jack did something amazing." Jack felt a mix of pride and humility. He had worked hard, yes, but the real achievement was human creativity and patience. Humans had a way of thinking that others could not understand. It was not about strength or speed. It was about intuition, guidance, and adaptation. Over the next few days, the alien supervisors studied the machine carefully. They ran tests, observed its movements, and tried to understand how it could act so intelligently. But every test showed the same result. The machine did not simply follow rules. It adapted, learned, and applied logic in ways that no alien design could predict. One of the senior commanders finally spoke to Jack. "Human, your methods, your approach, it is remarkable. We underestimated your species." Jack nodded slowly. "You only underestimated because you didn't understand how humans think. We guide, we adapt, and we see patterns differently. That's why it worked." Lisa added, "And it's not just him. Humans in general have that ability. That's the real lesson here." The alien commanders were quiet, considering this. They had believed that intelligence and creativity could only be found in species with precise logic and advanced technology. But humans had proven otherwise. A species they had dismissed as simple and limited had taken something they considered worthless and turned it into a powerful, adaptable, intelligent tool. Word of the scrap machine and its human guide began to spread beyond the station. Nearby colonies and trade hubs received messages about the battle. Everyone was surprised. Aliens who had always looked down on humans began to whisper. Humans were not weak. Humans could see possibilities where others saw nothing. Humans could guide, teach, and adapt in ways no one had expected. Jack and Lisa continued working with the machine, not to make it stronger, but to understand it better. They studied its movements, refined its routines, and taught it new ways to respond to problems. Every day it became smarter, more aware, and more capable. Jack realized that the machine was not just a tool, it was a teacher too. It showed humans how much potential they had, how their curiosity and patience could unlock the impossible. And it reminded aliens that intelligence was not only about raw power or advanced technology, it was also about understanding, intuition, and guidance. One evening, Jack and Lisa stood near the machine, watching the sunset outside the station. Its lights blinked softly, panels shifting gently. Jack felt a deep sense of satisfaction. Humanity had proven something important. Even when others dismissed them, humans could create, guide, and innovate in ways no one expected. Lisa broke the silence. "Do you think it will keep learning?" Jack smiled. "Yes, it will never stop. Every day it learns something new, and will keep guiding it." For the first time, humans were no longer underestimated. Across the galaxy, species that had once dismissed them as weak began to reconsider. Humans had a gift for understanding patterns, guiding complex systems, and adapting in ways that no other species could match. The scrap machine, once abandoned and forgotten, had become a symbol of human ingenuity. Aliens who had once scoffed at its uselessness now studied it in awe. Humans were no longer just participants in galactic society. They were innovators, teachers, and creators. Jack looked at the machine and whispered, "You were never scrap. You just needed someone to believe in you." The machine responded with a soft hum, lights blinking in a rhythm that seemed almost like acknowledgement. Jack smiled. For all the aliens in the galaxy, for all the humans who doubted themselves, the message was clear. Sometimes, what others write off as useless can become extraordinary in the right hands. The station settled into a new normal. Humans and aliens worked together, inspired by what they had witnessed. New collaborations began, new experiments were proposed, and humans were given opportunities that had never existed before. And through it all, the scrap machine remained a quiet presence. a reminder of what human intuition and guidance could achieve. Jack and Lisa continued their work, always exploring, always learning. The machine responded, growing smarter each day, guided by human hands and human thinking. It had been written off as scrap, but now it was more than anyone had imagined. In the weeks that followed, the story of the scrap machine spread across the galaxy. Humans were no longer seen as weak, as limited, or as simple. They were a species that could see beyond what others dismissed, a species that could guide, adapt, and innovate. And the machine they had saved and reprogrammed stood as proof. Jack looked out over the station, the stars stretching endlessly beyond the walls. He felt a quiet pride, not just for himself, but for humanity. They had shown that even in a galaxy filled with powerful species, humans could make a difference. They could create, guide, and teach in ways that no one had expected. Lisa stood beside him. "Do you think this will change everything?" Jack nodded. "It already has, and this is just the beginning." The scrap machine hummed softly in the corner, panels shifting as if it understood. Jack smiled and whispered, "You're not scrap. You're proof of what humans can do." And in that quiet corner of the station, something extraordinary had been born. A machine once abandoned had become a symbol of human creativity, ingenuity, and adaptability. The galaxy had taken notice, and humanity's place in it had changed forever. For Jack, Lisa, and everyone who had witnessed it, the lesson was clear. Sometimes, what others dismiss as useless holds the greatest potential. And when humans guide, teach, and adapt, even the impossible can become reality. The stars outside the station shone brightly, reflecting the promise of a future where humans were no longer underestimated. The scrap machine, once forgotten, had been awakened, and humanity had proven that it could achieve the extraordinary in ways no one had ever imagined. Jack looked at Lisa one last time. "Ready for the next challenge?" Lisa smiled, her eyes shining with excitement. "Always." And together they turned back to the machine, ready to explore the limitless possibilities that awaited.